don't we get started? Just as a reminder to everyone, this is going to be recorded. So mind your P's and Q's. You're all available to chat or put on your camera if you wish. And I'm going to turn it over to Nathan.
Sure. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about what people are most interested in having me talk about. I've got a list of, I can just start banging away at new features and stuff like that. But, if we want to get into more nuts and bolts operational stuff or talk about online sales strategy or things like that, I'm happy to share what I know on those topics as well. I want to make the best use of your time and not just shotgun a lot of stuff at you that might not be useful. So, Robin, Laura, Don, any ideas about what you'd like to hear?
Well, I'd be interested, or at least commenting on the unuser friendliness of the support screens or web page. I think a search would be much better there instead of having to page through everything to find out what I'm looking for, instead of having to email everybody.
So you're saying in the administrative area, what types of things are you?
On the Timber site itself. So you have like the general questions, but you have to go through the whole page to answer the general questions. And they don't look like they've been updated recently.
Well, so you're
those,
talking about,
yeah.
This gets updated. It's kind of a stream of consciousness as a knowledge base. Some of these things haven't changed in 5 years, and some changed last month. But I can definitely add a search here for you.
Yeah,
happy to do it.
Yeah.
Any other ideas from other folks? Crickets. Okay.
Now I've got one. You know it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were hoping I was going to stay quiet, didn't you?
Well, since you asked for it, you better have questions.
I just figured your mute button was on, that's all.
Well, yeah, it was. And, I have all thumbs this morning. So, is there a way to have, because students get emails, because that's what we use, because Wes had mentioned that actually in the last session, that does anybody use the email functionality from Booklog to communicate with your customers? And any of us that have Timber, we use Timber to do that when students place an order and what have you. And we actually utilize that quite a bit to let students know, oh, hey, you don't have any financial aid, or hey, your card's declined, or hey, this is why this thing is going on. But a lot of times, especially if a student is using not their school email, they're using a Gmail or something like that, and it gets caught up in a spam filter somewhere. Is there some way to set an automatic resend of some sort? I know that's asking a lot, but or is there a way to have that kick it back and say, hey, that email never made it because they put the wrong email in?
Sure. So any emails sent out by the website are going to bounce back to the
they
store.
are.
Yeah. So if an email gets sent out to a customer account that doesn't exist, it'll bounce back to your store email address, whatever we have set on the website. But if it gets, placed in the spam folder, then we don't necessarily know about that because it happens after the transmission's complete.
Okay, so we're definitely not getting that, and that isn't your fault. That's ours.
But we can help because we can use for any campus email delivery. There's a couple of options that you can employ to make sure that the website's emails are received to a campus address. One of those is SMTP authentication, where we use one of your email accounts and we use the campus email server to send out our messages. That's got a lot higher probability of being delivered, especially, even to Gmail and on-campus accounts. So if you're friendly with your email administrator, let's get them in touch with me, and I'll set up the SMTP authentication on your website.
Okay, well, we can do that. It's worth
easy.
a shot because
Yeah.
I've done everything in my power. So maybe your soothing voice will convince them.
Or put them to sleep. Either way.
I'm just like, one of the two, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll give that a shot because we're failing in that area where, students, because we do use that functionality quite a bit. And, whether it's to, I'm getting sent messages about other questions, but we do use that functionality quite a bit to communicate, and whether it's a copy of a code or something else, but we use that functionality quite a bit. So if it's not making it to students, we need to know about it. Audrey also asked me, I am looking for more advanced info on creating and editing homepage. Never mind, I'll talk to you about that later.
Okay.
But yeah, so we'll connect about that authentication and see if I can get you in touch with the email.
Yeah, sounds just great.
Awesome.
Well, I'm willing to take all questions. Otherwise, we can just talk about new features or sales strategy. Totally up to you, because I want this to be a productive use of your time, not just listening to me babble.
Hi, Nathan. I'm Barb Shutt from Colby College, and a group of these other people here are my staff as well. We have Booklog, but we don't have Timber. So we're just hoping to listen along and not get in the way of everybody else's actual needs, but anything you throw in there, we're eager to hear.
Sure. Well, just as a quick high-level overview, Timber, as you know, integrates with Booklog, and we pull out general merchandise and we place it on your site and right next to your textbooks. So, just as a for instance, here's one Timber site at random, and what you're seeing. So at the top, they've got an option to view textbooks, and what you do in Booklog's course materials management module is automatically placed on this page. There's absolutely no maintenance of this page that you have to do. It just sort of shadows what you do in Booklog. So you can drill into a term, a department, a section, and I don't know what they've got as far as books, and then you can see, buy new, buy used based on what's available in Booklog. So if you have 5 of these left in store, the website knows that you've got 5 left to sell on the website. So the textbook side completely takes care of itself. And then the categories that you're seeing over here on the left side, these are your Booklog general merchandise categories. If you assign 3 different categories to a product, like a backpack or a t-shirt, that item will appear on the website under all 3 categories automatically. So the website's is sort of self-maintaining to the extent that it can be. I had an email from one of our customers earlier this week. She said, I haven't been to the website in about 6 months. I just process all my orders in Booklog. And that kind of blew me away because, I sort of live in the web space. And our customers tend to live in Booklog. So by and large, the website will take care of itself once you've got it set up, with a few caveats. But that's the Booklog Timber integration. Inventory items and adoptions come to the website and become native to the website. And website sales and customer information gets pushed back into Booklog, and they become native to Booklog for reporting and information purposes. So that's my elevator pitch, and hopefully that gets you up to speed.
If we've got, you had new and used, but if we have rentals and ebooks and stuff like that for text, does that float over as well?
Yes, on the textbook lookup, which we were looking at a second ago.
And is there a way to have items in Booklog that don't flow into the website? Can we flag it to flow or not flow?
Definitely. If you have rental items, what you'll see here is buy used, buy new, rent used. and then your rental terms of service appear as a block on the checkout page, and they have to agree to it before we let them check out. And yes, in Booklog, when you're, I don't have Booklog open right now, it'd take me a second, but when you're looking at a t-shirt or sweatpants or a coffee mug, on the miscellaneous tab, there's an export to web checkbox. And that's how you select. You can handpick items to push over the website.
Cool. Thank you very much.
You're welcome very much. If you want to talk more, do a more in-depth demo later in the week or next week, just let me know. All right, so moving
I
on.
have a question.
Yeah, fire away.
So I had an order that was flagged as fraudulent from Miami.
Yeah.
And I researched it and it was a valid order, but Timber wouldn't let me flag it or change it over to an order so it would flow into Booklog. What's up with that?
Just shoot us an email and we'll push it in for you. We flag
Okay.
everything from Miami because
No, I understand that, but I was more like, why wouldn't it let me change it once I looked at it?
oh, I see. The reason that we do that is when an item gets marked, or I should say when a customer gets marked as fraud or as a legitimate safe customer, it happens system-wide. It happens for other sites. So we hand review every single order that gets marked as fraud because we want it to be safe.
Okay,
We want them to be forbidden from using the system everywhere.
thank you.
No problem. Probably 7 or 8 out of 10 orders that come from Miami are fraud. And it's uncanny. There's
Yes.
no other location that gets more fraud than Miami. Any other questions? All right, well, let's look at Timber and let's look at what we've been up to for the last year or so. Actually, it's an interesting segue. I wanted to talk a little bit about fraud, just to start things off with. At the top of every order on the website, you're going to see this information block up here, which in some cases will indicate if it's fraud. And so there's some information here to help you determine that. One thing that we do to help eliminate fraud is at the top. On Columbus State's site, they call it the Cougar ID number. This is their student ID. And so we ask them, and in a lot of cases, we'll require the student ID number when they check out. That's an easy thing for you to cross-reference because this will come into Booklog as part of the order. If it doesn't line up with an existing student, you know right away that it's fraud. Another thing that we do is show down at the bottom, address verification service. Well, in this case, the zip code matches for the billing information, but the street address does not. If there's no street address, that's a huge red flag. Another red flag is when the bill to address is different than the ship to. Sometimes mom and dad are buying stuff for the student and they're out of town or out of state, but it's one of the flags that you can look for. One thing I wanted to do here is take a look at this other order here. The delivery address, the ship to address, Bush Boulevard, apartment 406 in Columbus, Ohio. Well, if we look at 6396 Bush Boulevard, apartment 406, which part of the water tower is apartment 406 located in? And so a lot of times the folks that are trying to commit fraud, you can't call them hackers. Thieves seems like the wrong word. I haven't come up with the right word, but these people trying to commit fraud, they'll put an apartment number to try to throw you off. But if you're unsure whether or not an address is legit, plug it into Google Maps and look at the street view and look around. If they're ordering a laptop or 4 copies of the same textbook to the same broken down apartment with cars up on blocks, it's probably not a student. And that's not always true, but mostly it is. And if you take that information along with the other information, like a missing student ID and an out-of-state address, that'll paint you a pretty good picture. So these are some of the things that we do. Another thing I wanted to do is point out email validation. So if I were to add my Yahoo account is Nathan E. Marks at Yahoo, and we validate this. I'm not a robot. Parking meters. Hopefully I got these right. So this will validate and say that, hey, this is a legit email address. And so on and so forth. Now, if I do a new validation and it's to, an account that doesn't exist, and we validate that. Oh, tractors. I got this one. I think that's Laura and I swapped tractor pics. They've got one on their format, and I've got one that I use to mow our yard. So it says it's valid, not a well-known account, but does not exist. And so a lot of times people committing fraud on your website, they're going to put in an email address that doesn't exist. And that's one way that you can check it. So I wanted to, oh yeah, one other flag that we can look at. Sometimes an order will get flagged for excessive attempts on payments. So we've got in the admin comments for this order, declined, 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 declined. And it's like, well, some students legit have a hard time plugging in their credit card information, but if you get more than 3, it starts to be fraud like every single time. And so it's what this is a result of someone trying to steal stuff from you, and they're just trying out different credit cards until they get one that actually works. And so multiple declines get flagged. Another flag is if we look here, they ordered 4 items for the same book. It's going international and an expensive $100 for shipping. Oh my gosh, why would they do that from your store when they could go to Amazon Prime and get it for free? So it's a really expensive shipping option or purchasing multiple expensive items. This is a big sign of fraud too. And so when we get a flag that's an order as possible fraud or it is fraud, these are the things that we look for. Does it have a student ID? Does it have address verification? What does the delivery address actually look like when you pull it up on Google Maps? Does the email address validate? Have they tried it too many times to pay for it? Are there multiple expensive items and an expensive shipping option? These are all big red flags for you. And if you beat us to the punch and you're looking at an order and it does not pass the sniff test, down here, just mark it as fraud and then click update. And what this does is on our entire system, all 135 or whatever we're up to timber sites, it marks them as fraud. And so their IP address, their delivery address, the ship to address, their email address, and their phone number, anytime that any of those pieces of information appear on an order, they get banned system-wide. And we get that a lot, where people that are confirmed fraud on one site will try to place orders on 10 other sites. And this is how we pick them up. We don't get everybody, but the more folks that get marked as fraud, the bigger that net becomes and the better job that we can do. Any questions about fraud before I move on?
Didn't we see at one point some fraudsters going around and using the timber sites to just test credit cards for, like $2 and $3?
Yeah.
I feel like that was something that they did at one point, and you called me and were like, hey, look at all the stuff that we've blocked.
Like we just had 5,000 orders and none of them went into Booklog. What happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something new for us. And we weren't trying to detect it, and now we are. But yeah, when we get multiple successive failures from the same IP address, that automatically gets them banned. And that's another way that we treat it. It's a different kind of fraud. It won't necessarily impact your store, but it is definitely abuse and it's misbehavior, because they'll take that information and try to try to steal stuff on other websites. All right. So, new timber feature in the last year, what we've done is we've created the ability for stores that have multiple physical locations to take inventory from all 3, 4, 5 of their stores and display it on one website. And when the product appears on the website, Timber knows how much is available at each website. And so, one example is this item here, Tort Law. If you click into the Timber tab, Hines Community College has like 7 different physical stores. And so what we're seeing down here is for the new item, there's 9 available system-wide. 0 here, 0 here, 0 here. Okay, there's 1 here, and there are 8 here. And so customers can add items to their cart from multiple stores. They can go to checkout, and then when they confirm their order, this is what it looks like here. Here's that Tort Law item. This is coming from the ATC location, and then they've got the ABCs of debt. This is coming from their Raymond location, and so this order, there's a couple of different ways we can set it up. This single order can get pushed into one location, even if that location doesn't have everything in stock. And you can do an intra-store transfer, get everything in stock and ship it out. We can also ship, items A, B, and C to one store and items D, E, and F to another store. And they become separate mail orders and they can be fulfilled separately. Or what we'll try to do is, the first thing we'll try to do is push the order into one store that has all of the items in stock. So if that store exists where it can all be fulfilled from one location, then that gets pushed into one single mail order. So there's like 3 different ways we can set it up depending on how you want to fulfill it. But this is kind of a newer, bigger feature. It took a lot of development time, and we've got it up and running now. And it's something that we can talk about if your store's got multiple locations. Let's see. So ebooks are a thing now, and we're seeing more and more of that. And I'm sorry about all the debug. I'm just going to skip past this. It's because I'm an administrator. And so ebooks are a thing, and we're doing much more business in ebooks than we ever have before. And the tools for that are getting refined as we speak. And there's been a lot of iteration the last couple of months to integrate ebooks in your website. And kind of the way that we looked a little bit earlier today at the Columbus State textbook lookup, when there's an ebook, it's going to appear as an option, buy ebook or rent ebook. And when that happens, the fulfillment is usually going to happen from RedShelf or from VitalSource. And what happens is for orders that there's a credit card on the order, those orders instantly get fulfilled from RedShelf or VitalSource. For orders where they pay with their student account, the order has to come into Booklog first and get completed, because that's where we verify there are actually funds. So you verify that there are funds, and then the website shoots the signal over to RedShelf or VitalSource and says, okay, time to fulfill this. And so what does that look like? Well, when there is a VitalSource or a RedShelf product, it's going to appear in your checkout pane, kind of like this. You're going to see the Booklog SKU. You're going to see the website SKU. You'll see you'll see the website pin that gets issued for access to the product. If the product is redeemed, then that shows up here, or it'll say not redeemed, so the student has not yet accessed it. The pin that gets sent into Booklog is internet sourced, so Booklog knows to not fulfill this. And you can see that, yeah, okay, this product was fulfilled on October 21st. And it's VitalSource fulfilled. Now, if we're within 2 weeks of when it was fulfilled, there will be a button over here that says refund. And you can refund, the bookstore can get credit from VitalSource. And so you click refund, VitalSource credits you. What happens next is you have to return the item to the mail order in Booklog. It's just like if they were to bring it back to you and put it on the shelf, and then you've got to send it back to the wholesaler and get credit. So it's a 2-step process. First, you request the refund from VitalSource or Red Shelf, and then you return the item in Booklog to the mail order, which credits the student. If between the time that they place the order and it hasn't yet been redeemed, sometimes what will happen is it gets caught in limbo because they change the price and they change the SKU. So you sell product A to the student. Well, product A is no longer available from Red Shelf or VitalSource, but product B is at a different price. And so you can substitute that item in Booklog. You do the substitution, and then you can come back to the website and reprocess the order. And that will detect that product B has been substituted and then send a new access code to the student. And so, there's some buttons down here. If you want to manually send the pin to your student, you can do that. But so the bottom line is the ebook tool set for fulfilling Red Shelf and VitalSource products. It's come a long way in the last 3-4 months, and we're still working on it, trying to make it more intuitive. I know that in the near future, Booklog is working on being able to refund the product right from Booklog, which will then shoot the signal over to VitalSource or Red Shelf so that the bookstore can get credit. That way, it's not a 2-step process. You can just do it once from mail order. But there's definitely been, there were some bugs in August that I think we've got worked out now. And, there's some new features coming because this is sort of an up and coming feature for a lot of bookstores. Yeah, if you have any questions, we can sure talk about those.
Nathan, is this a paid add-on or is this just something we
No,
request?
this is from the Timber side. This is free.
Okay.
We want you to sell more books.
Okay. Because
And
I don't have this and I want this.
Right. Well, shoot me an email and we'll get you set up later this afternoon.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. There is another big report too that we'll install on the website. So this is an administrative fulfillment report. Instead of looking at orders one at a time, you can look at all of the orders and see what this, here's your website order number over here. Here's your Booklog order number here. The status, the payment, all of the same information that we just looked at on the individual order is available on this combined display too. And this will appear over in your Timber options under fulfillment, VitalSource or Red Shelf. This side happens to have both. And then you can look at VitalSource orders. See, this is all you'll see. Again, I'm logged in as the admin, so I'm seeing some extra info that our bookstore administrators won't see. All right. Moving right along. I wanted to talk a little bit about signature capture because there are some stores where in order to use financial aid, you've got to have their signature. And so there's a feature that we can add to your checkout page. I'll scroll down to the bottom here. And right now, we've got credit card selected. And down at the bottom, it's empty. And then if we choose financial aid, down at the bottom, it now says, I agree to pay for the above amount from my student account. And if you're on mobile, you can use your finger. If you're on, if you're on a desktop, you can use your mouse. And when you submit the order, whatever you filled in here will appear in the order. And so how does that look? Well, it appears on the view order page, kind of like this. And then when on your print orders by date report, when you print it out, here it is over here. So when you print it out, it actually appears on the printed order on the paper copy. And so signature capture is now possible. That's we can take if it's something that you're interested in for your site, we can take a look at it and give you a quote. Depending on when we built your site, the process for adding it can be a little bit different. All right, so wanted to look at item notes. This is one of our development sites. It's the textbook lookup page. like we looked at for Columbus State earlier today. And we've drilled into a term department course section. We're now looking at the adopted items for that section. Down here at the bottom, this item includes a free ebook, open educational materials. And in the item note in book log, someone entered in a URL. And so what happens is if you enter in an item note in book log that includes a URL, it automatically gets converted to a clickable link on the website. And you can click that. And I'm not a student for this system, so it's going to ask me to log in. But yeah, anything that you put in here that's a URL is automatically converted to a link in your textbook lookup. One of the features that we've added in the last couple of weeks here is being able to sort materials by price. So by default on your Timber site, items are sorted by title, but you can also choose by price, sort lowest to highest. And this is something that we can look at adding to your site too if you want it added. But it's up and running on a couple of Timber sites. Moving along, gift bag wrapping. On the checkout page, one of the things that we can do is enable gift bag wrapping. If you want a couple of pre-packaged messages that they can choose, we can add that as well. But it just gets added, added as a product with this information as a message on the product, and it sort of seamlessly fits right into the checkout page. Rounding up to donate is becoming a thing, and let me just pop back to. So when you're on your shopping cart page right before you check out, at the bottom, what we do is we would add a little message like this and say, hey, if you'd like to round up today and support the fund, then click the green button and it rounds up to the next dollar, which you can see this product's already in the cart. So I can't round up anymore because the subtotal is already 33. It's maybe a little more intuitive at the register, but since people are, not always at the register these days, it's something that we can add to the checkout page on your website as well. Gift card payments. We sent out an email blast about this. I don't know that everybody got the memo, so I thought I would just show this live. So here's a Timber checkout page. They've got a couple of big red messages, but there are 3 products in the cart. We've got the regular delivery and billing info. And then at the bottom, you can choose gift card as a payment option, enter the gift card number, and proceed with checkout. It's not a perfect integration. If the gift card balance will cover the order, great, you can proceed and check out. If not, we will also collect a credit card authorization that will get captured for the balance between the order total and what's on the gift card balance. Graduation fields. University of Guam site, they've got a bachelor's gown for graduation, and they asked us to come up with a way to collect the weight, height, the field of study, and the phone number. And so when this gets added to the cart, this information gets captured along with it. And I'm at about 165 today. I'm 5'8", give or take. Let's just say business. And here is our phone number. And so you add this to cart. This information gets placed right below it here. And then it's also available on the website order. And then if we add this to your site, we've also created a report that shows the order number, customer name, the date of the order, and then the products in that order. And so you can see the attributes that they filled in when they placed their order. So hopefully all of this helps you when you're ordering graduation apparel, regalia for your customers. And then the last thing that I wanted to show you is our variable price product. And so if you have a need where you want to collect donations or some kind of membership, or, in the case of South Arkansas Community College, they wanted to allow parents to help pay their tuition online. And so you specify the amount that you wanted to pay, you can add to cart and checkout. And then this, comes into Booklog and can get applied. Oh, as part of this, we can also send an email to your registrar's office that said, student A is making a payment of $1,000 to their tuition. And then that way the bookstore doesn't have to manually communicate that to the registrar. Hopefully it cuts down on a little bit of that manual back and forth. So yeah, this is everything that we've added the last year or so. Some of this you know about, some of this will be new. If you want to talk about more of it after the call, or if you've got more questions, please let me know. Either you're on mute or nobody's got anything to say. Anybody have any questions about best practices or online marketing or anything like that? One of the finer points of owning a timber site or of managing a timber site, and I just want to digress a little bit, is that a lot of folks think, okay, my timber site's live. I'm selling textbooks. I'm selling general merchandise. My job is done. And I like to challenge that thinking a little bit. I think in the highest functioning timber site, your job is to promote it. And so you're doing more than just selling textbooks in August and in January. I like to strongly advocate that every month of the year, you're running a promotion. You're running an email blast. And it could be seasonal. It could be holiday based. It could be on a sporting event. You might want to reach out during the fall and spring. If you've got quiet months, you might want to reach out to incoming freshmen. They want to rep the apparel from their new school. They're universally excited about that. You might want to reach out to alumni. But every month of the year, come up with a promotion. Do an email blast. Get people engaged on social media, on Facebook, and run promotions there so that when folks come back to the website, that they saw it on Facebook because you use a specific coupon. But the highest functioning timber sites, it's a year-round thing, and a lot of times, I like to say the best way to get something done is to delegate it. And so if you have someone that you can delegate to create your calendar, so to speak, sit down and work with them and say, yeah, we want to promote the site. We want to make it a 12-month out of the year ongoing thing, so that the first day or the fifth day or whatever it is of each month, we need to blast an email, or we need to get this out on Facebook. But find something to promote. I mean, there's always something if you look for it. And you should really think of your timber site as more than just a vehicle for selling textbooks a couple of months out of the year. And in fact, to look at it from a different perspective, your customers, your community, your campus, your alumni, they want to support you. They just don't always think about you. But people are generally pretty enthusiastic about what's going on at the bookstore and what's going on campus. And if you can find a way to tie into that enthusiasm, it's going to result in increased sales and increased satisfaction for the community at large. And so that's kind of my 2 cents about it. Use your timber site for more than just textbooks.
So I have a question about the gift wrapping. Can we just add gift wrapping, not gift bag wrapping? Because we do flat paper wrapping.
This is just a product that we promoted to a special place on the checkout page, and it's arbitrary. We can put whatever product you want here.
Okay.
It could be a master SKU item, sub SKU item set. So if you have a series of different levels of products, you know, whether it's a bag or a basket or wrapping, it could be any number of products at a different price point.
Cool. Are there any more questions out there?
Anybody need
Zoom
coffee
needs a
before the next
cricket. Yeah, Zoom needs a cricket sound effect there for when nobody has questions.
session? That's
Nathan, I've been asked a couple of times for by various fleeting employees that have run screaming that they would like to see, because they love your videos, and if you haven't checked them out, please do. That they're looking for a more advanced kind of video training on creating a an interesting home, like the homepage, changing it, creating promotions, creating new tiles to make it look pretty, just kind of a little bit more advanced than just the simple things. I mean, we use Canva to kind of create little tiles, and if you're not familiar with that piece of software, it's kind of like the dummies version of Photoshop. So but so we use that to create the tiles for social media, and then we just slap them on the website. But I do know that like my GM manager, she's not, she's not trained on tech stuff, she puts it, but she would like something a little bit more advanced on how to make things look exciting and new as frequently as possible. So, and it's not the first time I've heard that one. So
That's great feedback. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, there's things, underutilized things for a lot of timber sites, underutilized features that can really enliven the homepage. What I wanted to do is show you an extreme example. This particular site, they've customized their homepage in a couple of different ways, but the rotation and the graphics and the promotions here, these get changed out on a regular basis by them. So if they want to feature something besides bottoms, tops or insulated drinkware instead of mugs, they can change all of the photos, change where the links point, as well as the usual featured items that you see on most timber sites. And so there's definitely a continuum between like what's available with every timber site and then what's available if you want to customize it. But definitely somewhere in between there, I can do a video to help show you how to get the most out of the homepage and keep things fresh and liven it up a bit. Just to show you another example, just off the top of my head. So this is one extreme on this site, and then the visual aesthetic of the Seminary Co-op is completely different. They've got an entirely different mission, an entirely different customer base. The customer base is just as rabid in both cases, but they respond to a different tone and a different type of layout. And so, everything that we're looking at here, again, is updatable by them and is by design, easily updated so that they can swap things out. But it's a totally different aesthetic. And at some point, if you want to talk about morphing your site into something that matches your mission a little bit more closely rather than what you have, let me know. But as Laura touched on, there's quite a lot that is possible already with every timber site, and I'll do a video to help you get more out of it. Thanks.
Could we get a list of what the underutilized features are? Maybe we're not using them because we don't know that they exist.
Absolutely, we'll cover them. Cover them in the video.
Nathan, I just have a generic question. We're going to be switching to timber in the spring, and I know it keeps track of real-time inventory. What happens if your receiving gets behind and you actually have things in stock, but you haven't got them received yet. Are they unsellable, or can you override that?
Well, there's a couple of different ways that we address that. So first things first, if you want, we can use the the on order quantity as part of that calculation. It gets summed together in what the customer sees. Secondly, what we do with new textbooks is, I would say for 80% of our stores, new adopted textbooks are always in stock. And that's because most stores don't want to miss a sale on an item that can easily be sourced. And so there might be a day or two delay in getting it fulfilled, but you can resolve that with a little customer communication. Say, yeah, it's on order, we'll have it to you soon.
Okay.
And so for new textbooks, they can always be available, even if you don't actually have any on hand.
Okay, so the customer doesn't have to see behind the curtain and know you're behind.
Nope,
All right, cool, thanks.
no problem. We can also, on that topic, because not everybody might be aware of this, we can do a global withholding quantity. And so when there are only 2 left in the bookstore, the website will see it as 0. And then if you globally are withholding 2, we can take a category like sweatshirts and say, well, we're going to add 2 back. So the website's actually showing what you have on hand. So it can be manipulated by category and things like that. So we've got switches that we can flip on the global level, switches that we can flip on a category level, whether or not something is adopted. If you feel like the way that your website calculates your stock quantities is too restrictive, let's talk, because chances are we can come up with a way to manipulate that so that it works better for you. Where's my cricket sound effect? Any other questions? All right. Well, I just want to put my contact info on the screen really quickly here. You're more than welcome to reach out to me. If you have any questions after the call, if something pops into your head, shoot me a note, give me a holler, and we can work through it.
I don't actually see your contact information,
Oh,
Nathan.
it's not displaying? Huh. Interesting. Well,
I
let's
still see the seminary co-op.
do it this way then. Is that better?
Yes.
I had opened up a new Outlook message and Zoom wasn't focused on it.
Oh,
Thank
crickets.
you. I love it.
You're welcome.
Nice.
Well, thank you very much, Nathan. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. As I said, this was recorded, so we will have it available starting tomorrow. And hopefully we'll see people for our last session this afternoon, alternative revenue sources.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Great afternoon.